It's Tuesday, it is!
Hey everyone, it's Mimi and Weezus.
Hey guys, what's good?
Today, we have an interesting episode coming to you, something a little different than we've been doing. We're going to talk about how the military has, weaponized animals in the past. Not only weaponized, but set them up as spies, stuff like that.
Yeah, you were here thinking the local dog is your friend, and out of nowhere, he's like, I have a mic, and I have 3 years worth of evidence on you. You're going to jail, and then you're like, my dog can speak?
Yeah.
No,
Your dog, your cat, they might not even be your dog. They might not even be your pet. So what actually triggered this for me was that I saw a video on my reels earlier this week of Vladimir the beluga whale. And it got me thinking. I was like, okay, if good old Valdy here is out here running the sea, what else does the military have out here, right?
For real.
So if you don't know who Vladimir is, he's a male beluga whale that lives free in the ocean now, somewhere near Norway. And in 2019, this dude just rolls up on some fishermen. They're just out there fishing, having the time of their lives. This beluga whale just pops up next to the boat and is like, "What's up, guys?" I mean, he obviously didn't talk, but he was just there asking for attention. He had a harness on. The harness had a GoPro on it. And on the harness, it had on there property of St. Petersburg, something like that. Equipment of St. Petersburg, which is Russian. So they were thinking, and they still do to this day, believe that he was part of the Russian military.
That's wild, dude. He's over here. He's like the friendliest beluga whale. He's like, what can I do for a fish? Mm-hmm. He's like, and then he's like, oh, I'll give you a fish. And then he does a trick and he's like, JK, I know your location now.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So what was the GoPro for and what did he get on it? Was it live feed, dude? Is that even possible?
Or what if, dude, crazy theory, out of nowhere, but what if they were trying to see if they can find bigger creatures down under?
They could. That could be it.
And this beluga whale, I'm pretty sure they can swim pretty deep, so.
They can. One thing I want to add before we get too deep into it, guys, is the fires from Oregon are sending really bad smoke over here, and so we've been having to stay inside. So my asthma is acting up and my allergies. So if I sneeze and cough in the middle of the podcast, I'm super sorry because I might not be able to cut it all out. But just FYI, I'm not over here just trying to be rude. I have allergies because of smoke. So anyways, deep diving, that's a good one. The other thing is, so this whale has caused a lot of controversy because he just rolls up, right, with all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Norway has basically offered him asylum, just as if he was an actual
a resident, dude.
Yeah, and literally
refugee.
It says on the internet they've offered him political asylum.
Free my man.
They let him be there for safety, and no one has claimed him. So obviously, Russia's not going to be he's ours, give him back.
Yeah, because then they'd be we're spying on you, dude, guys.
That would be my weak.
But at the same time, bro, what if that whale had a wife and kids, and he's never going to see them again?
Yeah. No. Or imagine his trainer, dude. Putting in all those hours.
Devastated, dude.
Yeah.
Devastated.
Anyways, he got out somehow, but maybe she released him or he, whatever. Anyways, his first sighting, right? He was rubbing up against the boat. He was literally bumping into it. There's pictures. We'll post them because it is cute. I'm not going to lie. But he's in a literal dog harness. It's not anything fancy. It's literally just some straps clipped on with little plastic clips. And he's got a GoPro on. Literally just.
He's not professional at all, yeah, right?
He just swims in. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I was on the beach and a beluga whale swam up to me with a camera, I'd be like, yeah, that's a spy. I wouldn't be like, what a cute little fella.
Dude, I might want to take the harness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, put it on Mango. So after he was spotted, obviously it was reported to authorities and all of that stuff. They called in animal rescue staff. These animal rescue staff come in, they free him from the harness, and then it was a lady or a man, I'm not sure, named Joar. I'm not sure how to say the names because they're foreign and I apologize. But got into one of those survival suits for the water, jumps in, frees him from the harness. Then the whale comes back day after day, visiting all the fishermen, asking for food, trying to play fetch. So then there's videos of people playing fetch with him when they go out on the waters. They throw a...
See, it's this whale was a lot more smarter than we give it credit. It knew they took off the harness. I was like, there's no way I can go home now, dude. They're either gonna kill me or they're not gonna feed me no more. You know what? I think I'm just gonna stay here.
Yeah, he did. He was like, well, and most whales in the ocean, you've seen videos, whales are really curious, so they'll come up and be like, who are you? What are you doing? But this one was like, hey guys, where's my dinny? Snacks, please. And so it showed that he was tame. Like, that's just, he knew what people were. He wasn't afraid at all. So the director of, like, all the fisheries there, he urged the public at this point. He was like, do not feed this whale. Please don't feed him. Leave him alone. They thought he was going to become aggressive, just like, what is his name? Keiko? He was the whale that you saw in the Free Willy movies.
Oh.
So he was all trained up for that, and then he became evil, dude, which, don't blame him. Watch Blackfish if you haven't on Netflix, because it shows all the bad stuff that happens to those whales who are kept in captivity, by the way.
For sure.
Anyways, so at this point, a proposal was made to take this whale to a sanctuary in Iceland, where those other 2 whales are housed from China. So that was their plan. But at this point, they were like, dude, he's feeding himself. He's getting food. He doesn't need to be taken. Then, nope. He was like, I don't know how to hunt. So all this stuff had happened. All these organizations.
He's like, I couldn't catch some fish. They were too fast.
Yeah. He was literally like, dude, I don't know. I just get fed dead fish. I've never seen a live one. Like, this is crazy, right? So at this point, they're like, all right, he does need to be relocated. Well, then these directors of fisheries and stuff agreed, well, he's going to die, so we need to go ahead and feed him. So they start feeding him, and then they were like, this is only temporary. We got to put him in a sanctuary. Nope, dude. They started a big old fund for him, and people donate money every day to keep him fed. Isn't that crazy? And unlike, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but unlike other belugas, they, like, stay with their pack. I don't want to say pack. There's a school, I don't know what to call them because they're in the ocean, but they have their family and they stay with, like, multiples. He doesn't have one since he was never in the wild, so he's all alone all the time. Aww. Isn't that so sad? I'm, like, really bummed about it, dude. I don't know.
That's why the people feed him, bro. He's ours. No,
yeah, well, now he got veterinary care, dude. He's got food, like, he's good to go.
And he lives a free life in Norway.
The last video I saw of him was just here this year in 2024, back at end of February. People were feeding him and playing fetch with him. And I'm like, I want to go meet him. That's like my thing. I want to go meet him, dude.
We're going to go meet, what's his name,
yeah.
Vladimir?
Valdemir. Yeah.
Valdemir.
I want to keep saying Vladimir, but it's not. It's Valdemir. It's just 2-letter switch, dude. Anyways, like, theories on him and stuff is obviously, like I said before, that he was part of the Russian military. They think he's like Russian espionage, dude. And he probably is. So that got me thinking, okay, if they're using him as a spy, what else is the military use? Not just U.S. military, but, like, all of them.
Yeah.
And there's a long list of, well, they say failed projects, but how do we know if they were actually failed? You know what I mean? Like, that's what they want us to think is kind of where I'm at.
For a while, you heard that crazy conspiracy that pigeons were drones, right?
Yeah. It's because they literally had a project called Project Aquiline or something like that, and this was back in the 1960s. Mm-hmm. That started the pigeon drones. So I'm gonna read a ton of different stuff for you guys, but, like, what if they still are?
Yeah,
you never know.
It's like that one movie, John Wick. You know that guy? He's like, how do you get information? He's like, my birds. Mm-hmm. Like, there we go, bro. Just simple as that. I mean, it's crazy to think that a simple animal would infiltrate something. Like, it has the capability of knowledge, like, to be like, I'm gonna go into this building and copy whatever I hear.
Yeah, it's weird. So we'll start with this one. This was back in the Cold War, right? They made efforts to build bird-shaped drones to act like mini spy planes. Yeah, so this wasn't actually even a real bird. It was a drone.
It was a drone.
It was a drone shaped as a pigeon. So that's why people are like, pigeons are drones, But, like, then there's more. So the team had planned to equip a fleet of at least 12 of the fake birds. And they had, like, air sampling sensors to target a missile test center and nuclear test sites, dude.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's really weird. So then the CIA even planned to install a radio something, I don't know, I can't even pronounce half of this stuff, system that could convert waste heat from decaying isotopes into electricity, boosting the bird's endurance and flying time to 30 days or 36,000 miles, dude.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And this is technology from the 1960s, right?
Yes, dude.
This is like what we have on our drones that we use now, right? Just imagine.
Yeah, but guess where they were building them?
Where, dude?
Area 51.
Oh, of course.
Apparently they were never completed.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was
all
like
those random lights that we see in the sky. Just saying.
It's just a pigeon. A fake pigeon, dude.
A fake pigeon.
Then we have the Operation Acoustic Kitty. right? This one is like wild because I think almost half of us all have cats, right? So there's always been rumors about cats being spies. So beginning in 1964, the CIA explored the idea of using a cat wired with a microphone and transmitter to monitor conversations held out in like open areas like parks, park benches, all that kind of stuff, between foreign agents and their Soviet handlers. So basically they were just going to eavesdrop and get the recording, right?
Yeah.
So this wasn't just some strap a camera on a harness on a cat type of mission, dude. No, these animals were like surgically modified, you guys. Surgically modified. And they literally put wires into a cat's ear and transmitters under the skin of the cat. And they did surgery on them. And supposedly it was like humane and under the care of veterinary stuff and
yeah, that's what they like.
Yeah, that's what they want to tell us. But apparently it was never a thing after they did all the testing. So
basically the problem with cats is I think yeah, exactly. Any cat owner would tell you they'll do whatever they want. And the problem with that, it was the couple times when they were like, all right, the cat's ready to go, they would like let it out and then it would walk away. And then the common problem was this cat was always hungry. That was a problem. They would always have to feed it before it would do anything. And right when they got it to its first mission, like, hey, the target's right here, the cat was going, it just gets run over by a cab.
Yeah, well, and the crazy thing is, when I was reading on the website where, like, someone in the CIA actually posted these stories, they said that same story. They said the CIA says, that's not true, he never died. Okay, well, then what happened to the cat? Then they won't tell you. But yeah, they say that basically the cat didn't listen. It just went off on its own. It did no spying, which, duh. Like, I don't know. Duh, that it didn't do its job. Like, I don't know. That's all that's like the only thing I can say is like, dude, my cat right now, we've locked her out of the room 5 times, and she keeps trying to claw her way back in, and now she's just sitting on my lap, getting intel.
For real, dude.
So, I don't know. So that was another one of the big ones is the Project Acoustic Kitty, dude. That was also back in the 60s. Then we get the 1970s coming up.
For sure.
They had I don't even know how to say it. Insectothopter. It was like an insect helicopter is basically the way.
For sure.
But anyways, the CIA tested having like fake bugs. So they used dragonflies and they had like a microphone the size of the tip of a needle, basically. Like they had little teeny tiny, well, a little bigger than that, but they had like little teeny tiny things because they had to make them the same size as a dragonfly because it hovered. So they had these little bugs, but what they didn't plan for, because it was going well, it seemed like it was the perfect thing. Because they were working, they were recording, they were flying. They couldn't go for that long battery life and whatnot. But what they didn't account for is the wind. Because I think they could also, they were like remote control bugs, so they had to be like within 200 meters or yards or something like that.
For sure.
But then any burst of wind, dude, even the slightest one, would just take the bug away, and then they would lose control of it.
No,
if it got
going down.
Yeah,
My tiny pilot, dude.
Yeah, and so that's basically what happened. So apparently that didn't work either. And that's not even a real animal. That's just a bug.
Okay, dude. In relation to that, DARPA, which stands for, I got this right here, stands for Defense Advanced Research Projects. In 2006, they hired a bunch of scientists to develop basically cybernetic bugs, which, in other words, just drones, right? Small drones.
Yeah.
The thing is that this is, back then they were like, this is really inhumane. But then I think about it, I'm like, they're just bugs, right?
Yeah.
So they found a beetle that basically they inserted 2 wires into its brain, and then they could control the, how do I say, like the wing speed and going up and down. But after the surgeries, the bugs almost all the time just died.
Yeah.
So, and then the thing is, they saw this same project, like, you know how we were talking about the pigeons that were drones?
Yeah.
They also did the same thing with mice. So they're like, oh, we can reproduce that. And every time they just couldn't get it down.
Well, you know, what I had read, too, there was a project called Black Bag Ops and Assassinations is what this is all about, if you want to read about it. But it's where, like, the top secret technical services division for the CIA was doing the same thing. Like you just said, they were placing electrodes in the brains of dogs and other animals, which is the beetles. And it was beetles, and they did snakes. So that was the other thing. They started doing cold-blooded animals, trying to be like, okay, well, then they won't be able to detect them and stuff, you know? Well, then, what their goal was to eventually do this on humans. And we'll do a bigger episode all about this, but they wanted to find a way to control human behavior. So they started on bugs, they went to mice, then they went to snakes, they went to dogs, and all kinds of stuff. And obviously, it wasn't working very well.
This is honestly what probably led to Project MK Ultra.
And that's what we'll probably do our next episode on too, because it's insane. But their main goal with doing it on the snakes was to get them to do assassinations. Literally, like they wanted these poisonous snakes and stuff to go and like bite people and kill them.
You guys ever seen snakes on a plane, dude? They open the flower case and they're just in there. Ah!
Yeah. It was basically the same thing. Like they wanted to be able to control the snakes so that they can say, okay, well, this is let's get a black mamba and like go bite Jesus.
See, but I have a feeling, bro, like the same situation with the cat happens with the snake.
Yeah.
How do you get the snake to attack someone if the snake doesn't feel threatened? What if it's like, hey, dude, someone finally picked me up? No, I just kidding.
Well, with their whole MK Ultra program, like you were talking about, they would implant electrodes into the snake's brain so that they can control all of its movements. So the snake wouldn't even be the snake, technically.
So it'd be basically a vegetable while it's getting controlled remotely.
Yes. Like it would still be alive, but like it can't make its own decisions. So basically, we would be making
what you're telling me, that's an alive robot.
Yes, exactly. That's the perfect way to say it. It's an alive robot. Yeah.
That's crazy to think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and besides the electrode stuff, then we have an actual robot. We have Charlie the robotic catfish, and this was in the 90s. Yeah, so this ain't even. I like to say that ain't even that long ago, but I mean, I'm about to be 30, so the 90s. The 90s were a bit ago. So Charlie was the CIA's robotic catfish. He was designed to test the possibility of unmanned underwater vehicles.
Ooh.
So
underwater drones.
Or submarines, little things like that. Yeah, or anything under RC. I want to be like, yeah, they're military's RC boats,
Imagine.
but not actual RC. So Charlie's tail concealed a pressure hull, blast system, communications, and a propulsion system. Dude, he was loaded.
Dude, so this catfish basically was a little submarine.
Yeah, exactly. He literally was a mini submarine. And the CIA isn't saying if Charlie was used to gather intelligence or just water samples, but it's likely that Charlie didn't mind swimming against the tide.
God damn. Dude, they're like, all those submarines we sunk, just saying it was Charlie.
It was Charlie, dude. Then they had Spy Hawk.
Damn.
That was another one. So spy pigeons have been used since World War I, right? So it made sense for the CIA to go ahead and launch spy red-tailed hawks, dude. They wanted them to carry a camera around its neck. The plan was for the hawk to take photos of strategic defense systems, give them back to them so we could all see it, right?
Yeah.
So the camera could only take one photo, though.
Ooh, back then, right?
Mm-hmm. So that meant that they had to go to the place. They had to get the target. They couldn't take multiple photos. They had to be sure to be like, that's the guy, and take the photo of that guy. They couldn't just like have him out there blasting people. So I don't know.
It's just, I don't know where. Was that a hawk with the camera?
Yeah, was that?
I think so.
I think that bird just took a picture of me, dude. He literally had a Nikon.
I flashed. I had a big old flash.
Yeah.
The Men in Black flash? That's basically how big it was, and you're like, oh, I'm blind.
Yeah. Well, later on, the CIA discovered red-tailed hawks are actually a protected species. so they restricted them transporting them all over the place because they were protected. Thank goodness, supposedly, So then at that point, the CIA was like, well, we can't use a hawk, let's use crows. And you know how smart crows are, dude? They're too smart. They can talk.
Oh, man.
You can train them to steal stuff. So, like, if I leave, here's a treat for you, they'll bring you a gift in exchange, just on their own. So they'll bring you, like, oh, I found this penny, I found this paper clip. And then you can teach them to, like, steal money. So they find loose money, they bring it to you in exchange for snacks, dude.
I'm down, dude.
Yeah, they're really smart animals. So we talked about the robotic pigeons. Now let's talk about the actual pigeons, because they did use real-life pigeons, and they strapped cameras on them. So This was, I don't even know when this was, to be honest. I think this was in World War II also, maybe even before.
Honestly, they've been using carrier pigeons, I'll be real with you guys, since the 1600s, the medieval times.
Yeah, they've been using carrier pigeons, but they didn't have, like, cameras back then. So the CIA was like, dude, pigeons can carry messages. Let's use them to carry cameras, get intel. So there's actual pictures of the little cameras that they strapped on to these pigeons. Because keep in mind, the pigeons couldn't carry that much weight, right? So they had to, like, strap them in, harness train them. And then they had to have them go in and, like, get intel. And why pigeons, dude? Because they're perfect. They're common birds. So you see them everywhere. So it wouldn't be sus if a pigeon just rolls up on you and your friend at the park. You know what I mean? But they took tens and thousands of photos.
The pigeons rolled up better than the hawks, dude, because they're like, at least we're not endangered.
Well, here's the other thing, though. That parts of the pigeon program are still classified, so we have no idea.
Ooh, because they're still going on to the star.
To the star. Probably. Probably. I don't know. So then, they also had, I forgot about that. They used, like, dead rats, fake dead rats, and they put stuff in them, like listening devices and stuff, so that they could listen in, and people wouldn't think anything, like, out in the jungle, you know, being like, a dead rat, and they would still collect intel that way.
Man.
Like, fake poop.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah. They'd use, like, fake lion poop and stuff like that. Isn't that wild?
And you're just in the wild, you step on something, you're like, dude, I heard a crunch. You're like, it's probably some bones.
Yeah, it's just, no big deal. It's
No big deal.
just that camera inside that rat, dude. But there's a lot of other things, too, guys. There's all of that stuff. And then I want to talk about Project X-Ray for a second. So Project X-Ray is really wild. This was in World War II as well. And what they did was they attached bombs to bats. Then they released them. The idea behind it was they were going to attach, like, little
incendiary bombs.
Yeah, to bats. They were going to release them over buildings and over cities in Japan. They were going to roost into the buildings, right? Into the
Because
roofs.
bats, they're like mice. Once they find a way in, they'll always come back through that same way in unless you seal it or cover it up. They're invasive. So basically, they would go into all the crevices, all the weak points of a building, we would say.
They would go into all these wooden buildings in Japan, and then the people would detonate the bombs. And so, like, the bats were basically suicide bombers.
Yeah.
Literally. They used them knowing that the bats were all going to die, which is really messed up. And they sent them in that way. So the bomb carriers were equipped with a little parachute. And they were, because, the other thing is that the bats, they would actually, like, hibernate, right? Because they're up at night, not during the day. And they would, like, drop them down, but the bats weren't waking up. And so they were falling to their deaths and literally dying.
Just so you guys know, it's like it looks like a big nuclear bomb, but it opens up, and there's a bunch of trays, like egg carton trays, where all these bats were. And as they were falling, they were supposed to wake up.
Yeah. They weren't.
And the problem was, like, the ones that would wake up, they would be, like, freaking out, and they would just disappear. They would leave, and then they would never see them again. And then the ones that wouldn't wake up would just fall to their death.
So, well, that's the thing. Like you said, they would just fall to their death. So they were hoping that putting a little parachute on them would give them time to wake up and fly off. That wasn't happening. They said it was, like, extremely hard to wake a hibernating bat, right? So it also activated a 30-minute timer. That was the other thing. And, like, once the little parachute came off, it gave them, like, 30 minutes. So the idea was to drop them at dawn, time when the bats, like, tended to roost, right?
Yes.
And then the creatures would fly off, search for a spot to rest, and then the Americans would have 30 minutes for the bombs to go off and destroy Japanese buildings. Well, while the concept sounded like a good idea and all that, right? Obviously, the bats weren't waking up. Most of them died.
And then nothing stopped the bombs from going off. So, I mean, the bombs still went off.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So the bats still died.
Well, and they weren't actually, supposedly, they weren't actually releasing these in Japan yet. They were just doing it at testing sites, you know? Well, in one of the cases, the armed bats were released, apparently accidentally, but yeah, whatever. And they fell down, and they, like, burned down a building at an air base in New Mexico where they were being tested, because that's where a lot of the military testing was happening, was in New Mexico and Utah, right?
Yeah.
And so they were like, oh, okay, well, even though it was an accident, like, it's working. like, this is working. The bats started the fire, so we know it's going to work. So then in late, like, 1943, the project was handed over to the Marines. And they relabeled it Project X-Ray. Because at first it was like bat bombs or something like that. Just something super obvious. They fine-tuned it, dude. Successful drops of bat bombs were conducted over fake Japan that they built in Utah. But then, guys, guess what happens? So they're about to go ahead and start infiltrating cities with these bat bombs. But then the military is like, never mind, dude. Kick that project to the side. We've got another secret project coming at you. And that was the Manhattan Project. Took over Project Bat Bomb, or Project X-Ray. And that's why Project X-Ray got thrown out the door.
Damn.
Because of the Manhattan Project. Because they wanted to do the atomic bomb instead.
Man, see, they wanted to... Okay, so literally, you know that song, you just want to set the world on fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Literally, they were going to set Japan on fire with bats, and then they were like, you know what? We're thinking too small. Albert Einstein, and then, you know, what's his face?
Oppenheimer
and
That's what
and
I
then
meant.
Einstein were like, bro.
I said Manhattan. I meant Oppenheimer. That's
Oppenheimer and Einstein were like, you know what, man? What if a crazy explosion goes boom? And he's like, dude, you're a genius. He's like, you're a genius. And then they went,
Yep.
no,
And that's what happened.
they dapped each other, bro.
Yep.
Real.
So to close it off, we're actually going to talk about more Russian stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the Navy Dolphins that are protecting the Black Sea Naval Base right now in
Oh,
Russia.
man.
Yeah, because this is intense. Because, and I actually didn't talk about this at the beginning, like what we use in the military today. So the United States Marine Mammal Program, Navy's Marine Mammal Program, they train bottlenose dolphins and California sea lions, and they use them to help with military duties, right?
Of course,
So
bro.
they use-
Survey the area.
Yeah.
Sonar
So-
and stuff.
We'll start with the defense. So dolphins and sea lions protect ships, harbors, and underwater areas like piers and ship channels and stuff from intruders. They patrol the waters for divers and undersea vehicles that could plant weapons or spy on any Navy bases. Then the dolphins and sea lions can identify and tag enemy swimmers before the person realizes the animal's even there. And I don't know what their definition is of what these animals are doing. I don't know if the animals are attacking them, but they are using like echolocation and stuff to like alert like the naval bases.
See
so
what
that
I
they can
think is
attack.
like you know, when you're playing like Call of Duty or anything like that, you know, when you tag someone, like you mark them. I literally think that's what
That's
they're
just what
doing.
they're doing?
Yeah, they're like, okay, there's a guy here, and then the receivers like automatically track them,
Yeah.
and then they know where you are.
Well, and I was reading too how they use echolocation, just like a bat would. Dolphins do, and then they can alert back because the Navy can hear underwater. They have all these detectors and sonar detectors and whatever, and they're like, ah! There's some intruders over here! Man the gates, dude! Like, so that's what they do. Well,
Free the lions!
yeah, exactly.
Release the beast! No, I'm just
Like Godzilla's real, dude. Like, stuff like that.
Godzilla's real.
Things like that. Besides them doing like sonar to tell the military that like, hey, intruders are coming, they also do mine detection. So dolphins are able to locate underwater mines using their sonar. And this has been even in like the Iraq War, were doing it then. So this isn't like an old thing. Like they're still using dolphins to be like, yo, bombs, mines, like.
For reference, dude, if you guys seen Finding Nemo, you know when the sharks are going through all those underground mine, all those big spiky things. Those are underwater mines. And they've been there since like World War I, World War II. So there's still so many active out there.
Mm-hmm.
So these dolphins are actually like, they're like, ah! Right?
Yeah, well,
And
they can detect them underwater, and then they come back and be like, yeah, don't go there.
it's like, hey, if you guys want to have a fun time, we go this way. But if you guys want to survive, we go that way.
Yeah. You guys want to do something crazy, that is the way to go. If you don't, set out. They also, so the Navy originally started the program in 1960 to help with the design of new submarines and underwater weapons. That's when they originally started using dolphins and sea lions. The Navy's marine mammals, though, are kept at a base in San Diego, and they're known for their trainability and adaptability to a wide range of marine environments. So not only here, they can just drop these guys, dude.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
They're literally like little army, like Marines.
Well, and then they've also helped the Navy understand like more about echolocation and how to use it. That's kind of crazy, right? So on that topic, what it was leading into is right now, this is today, you can go find this. If you looked on like Google Maps, I don't know. If you look at satellite footage of it.
Yeah.
Sevastopol, I think I'm saying it right, is like a Navy base in the Russian Sea. It's in the Black Sea. It's right outside of Russia. And outside of it, there's these cages, like tons of them, like boxes of dolphin cages where they keep their dolphins in captivity underwater right there at the entrance of the base. So what are they using the dolphins for is the question. Is it to keep, alert them to intruders? Or is it something worse, like Project X-Ray, but for dolphins? Because that could be a thing.
See,
and of course,
I know
never
one thing I know
it.
about dolphins is that they're incredibly smart, right?
They're extremely smart.
What if
I would
they
love one.
Just this is all VR, right? Virtual reality. What if they
Allegedly.
What if they connect like something to their like sonar, right?
Yeah.
Where off of their sonar they can like release a gun or a little missile.
Yeah, they can.
Or a little mine, even like a tracking device.
They could.
Well,
and dolphins, the other thing they're using sea lions for, too. Sea lions are extremely smart. No one gives them credit for that either. And you can see videos and, like, training programs of them. And I'm sure there's a ton that we don't even know about what they're using these mammals for, or other animals, for that matter. But the sea mammals and, like, the sea wildlife is the craziest part. Anyways, sorry, we had a mini coughing attack, but we're back now. So, sea lions, they don't even give enough credit for how smart they are. There's videos, and you can go watch them, of how they, like, the military will drop things into the ocean, and then they have the sea lion trained to, like, take this big hook down that's attached to their ships and stuff and hook it to the item and then bring it up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Isn't that insane? So, I don't know. I think it's really wild.
It's basically a worker dog just in the sea.
Yeah.
That's wild. Imagine what they could do for the military.
Exactly.
They're like, not... The sea lions will serve better than most Americans. No.
They probably will. They probably would.
They'd be way happier about it. Sharks
They're
with
using...
freaking lasers.
Yeah, sharks with freaking lasers. And I think they really probably are using sharks though too, like as something. They're not. They are smart, but they're not like whale and dolphin smart. But they probably do use sharks. In reality, Dr. Evil wasn't that crazy, dude.
yeah, right. Well, I mean, that one guy does fall in, and then they shoot him with the laser, and then eat him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just think about this, right? What if like a shark spy, right, rolling up, but these like let's say the other people, they have killer whales, right?
Yeah, killer whales.
And they just bully the shark, being like, "What do you have on your head, huh? You look a little deformed." And they just bully him and kill him, and then be like, "Nothing, dude. He was a spy."
That was a spy, dude. So
we did our country service.
Yeah, we did our country a favor. We served our country well.
And then you hear
the whales are oorah.
They slap their fins.
Yeah, for real. Oorah. I can't, dude. That was so stupid.
We're gonna leave that in, dude. Anyways, guys, we're gonna close this off with the hurdle monkey incident. This was back. We're talking about modern times, and now we're gonna be back to like ancient times. So back in the 1600s, there was an island. It's called Hurdle, literally Hartle.
Hartle, yeah, Hartle. I think it was Hartlepool or something like that. But we'll just say Hartle.
Hartle, yeah. And it's about approximately like 1,500 miles from France. Back then, it's not like now where you can look up how are the people from France, how are the people from, let's say, like Australia, like how do they look like? There's no internet. Back then there was nothing. They had all they had was reference was basically cartoon drawings. Hartle people did not know what French people were. So it was like a morning, a French warship showed up to the beach of Hartle, and it was like destroyed, and they thought it was abandoned. The Hartle people were like, "Oh man, nothing really happens around here. Let's go. Let's check it out." They checked it out. They found one surviving person, which wasn't even a person. They say it was a monkey in a military suit. But the thing is, like, the people of Hartle did not know if this was a person or a monkey, because the only thing they knew about French people was that they were long, skinny, had a tail and claws, and almost similar to like a small monkey.
Yeah.
So what the people did was they put this man through court, which, I mean, I say man, but it's a monkey. And since the monkey wasn't talking, because it can't talk, they were like, he's guilty, he's a spy. And they hung him in the public square.
That's wild.
Okay, so I just say that, right? You think of a monkey getting hung, it's kind of comical, right? But let me get into, like, back then terms were a little different. If they found, like, let's say, a small monkey on a warship, it could have been a small kid. And the thing is, these warships back then, they had cannons. You know, cannons back then were around with gunpowder, so they had to be loaded up. Back then, they had kids working on the cannons named powder monkeys. And I'm not saying, like, you know, maybe when they put the powder in and then they shot the cannon, I'm saying, like, some gunpowder got on their face, but they could have had, like, their face painted. And the kids being in the warships, they had military suits, so it could have been a kid that they hung, not a monkey. So, you know, if you think about it, like, a kid in a traumatic incident, all that's going on for them. Let's say he just saw his whole crew, like, get destroyed by another warship. He's the only survivor, and then he got to this island where people don't even speak the same language as him, and no one is helping him. Imagine just freezing. Like, yeah. I would have, like, frozen. I would have been disassociating, just gone.
Well, and you see it a lot in, you know, CSI and Criminal Minds and, like, any of those things. When a kid goes through trauma, like, they see their parents get killed or their babysitter even, you know, like, the cops are like, tell us what happened, and they just sit there quiet. Nothing.
And, you know, just saying they could have hung a small kid.
They could have.
And they didn't even know.
Well, you guys tell us what you think. If you have any other ideas or anything you guys want us to cover, please drop that in the comments.
And whatever you guys are listening to us on Spotify or YouTube, make sure to download and like and subscribe.
And we out.
Yeehaw, brother.